Tonight, I'm going to tell you all about my sex life. This will take about 7 minutes. A few years back, I broke up with my girlfriend, and sex was not a problem for us. In fact, it was one thing that kept us together for so long, but ultimately the relationship was completely dysfunctional, so we broke up. Her first rebound after we broke up was with some guy who was a tantric master, and he takes her to the heights of sexual ecstasy. How do I know this? Well, we get back together for a sleepover. I'd have to tell you, she is a completely changed woman. I ask her, I say, what got into you? And she says,
Tantra. Did you know that the vulva can be stimulated from 10 different directions?
No, I had no idea. As funny as that is now, at the time I was crushed because I wanted to be the guy who opened her up that way, not somebody she just met. That was the first time that Tantra kicked my ass, and it would not be the last time either. 3 months go by, and I meet this really great woman in Seattle. She's a flight attendant. We start to date. But a month later, she invites me to go to Hawaii with her and take a week-long Tantra workshop. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. She goes, well, there's a catch. You need to go with my boyfriend, not somebody I see on the weekends. I need a commitment. I tell the truth, I'm not ready to commit again. I was in a long-term relationship. Can't do it. And she says,
Fine, I'll take the class by myself.
Well, she's not by herself for very long. On the second day of class, she meets another student, and they practice Tantra on each other for 5 days straight. How do I know this? Well, I give her a call right before Christmas, and I go, hey, honey, how did you enjoy your Tantra workshop? And she says,
Exalted. The best sex I ever had. I met a German man named Hogart, and I'm moving to New Zealand with him. I'll never go back to having sex the old way again. And did you know the vulva can be stimulated in 10 different directions?
Yeah, I think I heard that somewhere. Tantra kicks my ass for a second time. A few months later, I'm at this seminar. I meet this really charming woman, and we go to dinner together. I ask her what she does for a living. She tells me she's an intimacy coach. She actually teaches Tantra. She not only teaches Tantra, she goes off to India and she takes month-long workshops in the tantric arts. And I have to tell you, for the first time in my life, I'm on a date with a beautiful woman, and I'm actually afraid that I might have sex. I'm afraid we'd be in bed together and she'd say something like,
Did you know the vulva can be stimulated in 10 different cosmic dimensions?
Well, fortunately, we didn't go there. We became really good friends. And I asked her, I said, you know, this Tantra thing keeps showing up in my life, and maybe I should pay attention. And she recommends a book for me to read. I take a class, and I do all this so that I can be technically better at sex. And while Tantra definitely helps with that, there's all this other stuff about breathing and energy and God. Or maybe that was part of my problem. I never brought God into the bedroom unless it was, oh God, oh God, oh God, you know, while making my goofy face. Pretty much my whole life, I had this concept of God as being this pissed off old grandpa in the sky. And then as I got older, I decided, you know, I'm going to choose to believe in a God. I'm going to believe in the kind of God that I want to get behind. So, you know, groovy, creative, loving God like Bob Marley. And that was true pretty much everywhere in my life except in the bedroom. There, God still seemed like this pissed off old grandpa. So I closed the door on God in that part of my life until I started to study Tantra. I began to see sex and relationships in a whole new light. Tantra is about achieving union, and sexual energy is a very powerful access point for doing that. And they have all these names of reverence for the genitals. They call the penis the jade shaft and the scepter of light. You guys got to admit that it's so much better than pecker, prick, dick, or cock. They call the clitoris the jewel in the crown. They call the vulva, the vagina, the precious gateway, the golden doorway, and the flower heart. And then suddenly I had this revelation, and here's what it is. I think some of this, violence towards women problem we have in our culture stems from how we teach children about sex. It goes far beyond just the words we use to describe our private parts. Growing up, I had no positive role models around sex. I don't know any guys who did. I grew up in a culture that had all these shall-nots around sex, but not very many shall-dos. And I didn't grow up in a place that had gods and goddesses and divine beings all, getting on with each other, expressing their sacred sexuality. No, I had my mom saying stuff like,
sex is dirty before marriage. It's sacred after marriage. So keep your pecker in your pants until you're married. End of story.
Let me ask you a question. Is it possible that if we raise generation after generation of boys who become men, that sex is dirty, profane, and degrading, they might grow up to become men who gravitate towards those type of images? I mean, what if we taught boys that sex was sacred? What if there's a time right around puberty when the men and the fathers and the uncles came together and they told boys something like this? Son, that stirring inside you is the masculine side of God awakening within you. That desire to procreate is also the desire to create, to build your body, to excel in a sport, to lead, to achieve. It is not hormones to be denied, but nothing short of the masculine energies of the universe expressing themselves in you and as you and through you. Someday, you will meet your opposite and your complement, and she will test you in ways you can't even imagine. But if you can stay open to her, she'll give you gifts beyond bounty. I never got that speech growing up as a kid. I don't know any guys who did. But I think if I had, it might have cleared up a lot of confusion I had around sex and, saved a lot of heartaches as well. I believe that if we teach boys that sex is sacred, they will not grow up to become men who will use sex as a weapon against women or themselves. All this time I thought Tantra was trying to kick my ass. I now see it was just trying to wake my ass up. Well, I'm awake. I still got a long ways to go, but thank God I'm awake.